Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson. First off, I'm going to play this video. I'm going to play about a few minutes of it. Then I'm going to go into the comments of this video to show you the madness. Then I'm going to, hit some scriptures. And let's get straight into it.
One of the first slave ships that brought black people to the New World was named Jesus. White Christians used Bible verses and Bible stories to justify slavery. There was a time when white Christians wouldn't baptize black people because they weren't sure if it was okay to enslave Christians. They quickly changed their theology, baptized their black slaves, and forthrightly sent them back to the fields to work. 4. Both black and white prosperity preachers have scammed millions of dollars from faithful black parishioners living in American slums. 5. It is an undeniable fact that Christianity has been a tool of oppression for black people all throughout the world. And yet today, Black Americans identify as Christians at a staggering 79%, higher than any other group in this country. So the question is, why are black people still Christians? And while we're at it, I actually think there's a more pressing, more existential question that needs an answer. Does God hate black people? In nearly every country, on every continent around the world, darker-skinned people are treated poorly. By nearly every measurable standard, so-called black people are at the bottom of the social hierarchy everywhere. So much so that in majority black countries like Haiti and Nigeria, skin lightening creams are wildly popular. Anything to gain some proximity to whiteness and some distance from blackness. Africa is rich with natural resources, boundless human potential, unfathomable wisdom, and brilliant cultural traditions. And yet, colonial powers have pillaged, exploited, and divided nations and people in ways that are frankly irreparable, all without consequence. I mean, I don't know. You'd think that God would help us out a little bit. We've been through a lot.
Right, so this Jake don't know. First off, there's no such thing as black people. His skin is visibly brown, but yet he referred to himself as being black. That's the number one curse on you Jakes. And what you don't understand, what this Jake don't get, is you under deep curses. The Lord put us in this condition, and he don't hate his people. He loves us. But you people, the only way you know how to understand if you know, as you know, as God is blessing somebody is through the possessions of the world. That's how people in this world fathom, if so-called God is dealing with them or not, or dealing with a race of people or not. And what you don't understand as well is the so-called white man has gave you this version of Christianity, and that's why most of our people are Christians today. This new version of Christianity. So let me say this too. Let me go here. Give me 1 second. Now we'll give this Jake a little credit. At least he's thinking. You know what I'm saying? Most Jakes just blindly follow Christianity, but when Jake started to kind of wake up, they started to deviate into some more madness, and they end up more confused than what they ever was. So what you have to understand, if you knew in the truth, is our people are under curses. This is going back into the curses of the book of Deuteronomy 28. You can read the whole chapter. It breaks down the blessings and the curses. And what you don't understand, a lot of people don't understand is we have to pay for our past sins. And that's why we're back in this real time in 2025 under curses. But the good thing about this is we're going to get redeemed out of this. And it's coming soon. And we're going to get our lick back, and we're going to be able to rule over the nations. That's the end of the story. Right? So, again, this video, I was reading the comments and just seeing how confused our people are, from different genres of them. So I'm going to read this comment right here. It says right here, and you got a mixture of different things going on. Right here, this person at the top. It's always amazed me that so-called Black Americans, so-called Mexicans, indigenous Americans, why did this person say all these people together? Because these are all the bulk of the tribes of Israel. So-called Haitians, so-called Jamaicans, so-called Brazilians, so-called Cubans, so-called blacks, so-called Colombians, so on and so forth. Not every single so-called Colombian, not every single so-called Brazilian not every single so-called Haitian, not every single so-called black person, not even so-called every single so-called Jamaican, but the ones that go back into the lineage of Israel. The bulk of them will be Israelites, and you have tares among them. What I mean is you have people that has a complexion as a so-called black person, but the ethnicity is to another nation. You got a lot of tares among our people that actually are Edomites. And all people who have been colonized and abused by so-called white Europeans would retain the religion forced upon them by the colonizers. And that's a marvel, because you'll think that the people that colonized you and gave you that religion, that you wouldn't follow that. But again, this is how gullible and lost our people is, that they'll follow anything besides the truth. And you have this different version of this Christianity that has morphed into these prosperity pimps, that has morphed into these motivational speakers that disguising themselves as a pastor. And you got many other forms, genres of them, but it goes back into the same origin. This come in right here. Kind of bear with me because I'm still trying to get over this cold. So I'm all messed up right now. It says right here, as a black atheist, look at that confusion. Black atheist. Let me just read the comment. I've been wondering why so-called black people still embrace Christianity for years. I have had discussions with my granddaughter about her belief, and I've explained mine, and she understands my position to a point she's no longer offended by it. So she's a so-called black atheist. Confusion. Right here. It says, as a so-called black Roman Catholic. Think about that confusion. Let's keep going. For me as a black atheist, and we seeing a trend of all these different bugged out Jakes. It was a time that you really didn't hear about Jake being an atheist, but now it's been an uptick of all these different genres of bug outs among our people that's into all kind of stuff. They're into Scientology. They're into Buddhism, like I've been saying. They're into Hinduism. They're into Islam, right? They're into different genres of the Christianity, Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's Witness, Methodist, the Latter-day Saints. What's the big one? Lutheran, Baptist. That's the big one among Jake. So on and so forth. Let me read this next comment. I didn't even want to read the whole thing. It says right here, now you got this confusion here. It is heartbreaking that people who call themselves Christian are not Jesus loving Christians. More confusion right here. Because you got people, the bulk of these people think the Bible is about love, but yet they don't read and study it. They into the religion of Christianity. They don't follow the Bible. We follow the Bible. And they definitely don't read their Bible. So this dumb ass is making an accusation, and they all bugged out. It says we are here. It says we are to follow him, not to oppress and do all the terrible, terrible things we do to each other. See, they trying to push this love doctrine. It says we're supposed to love as he loved us. This is it says I love to follow Jesus and I hate oppression of anyone. But yeah, you see these people, man, they all messed up. This is Christianity love fest, but the dumb people don't know that Christianity, as it has morphed into today, was built on rape, robbery, genocide, lynchings. It was based on taking people land, taking a property, splitting up families, and now all of a sudden it's about love. How insane is that? And that's why we get belligerent sometimes dealing with you people, because you got to be crazy to believe in this madness. Let's go here. It's 2 Corinthians, I think it's 4:4. Give me 1 second. Salaki, 2 Corinthians 4:3. It says, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, And first off, this is starting at the Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans. They lost. They don't know who they is. They don't have the complete, or they don't even have any comprehension of what the Bible is really talking about. The Bible is about the Israelites, but they've been taught that the Bible is talking about anybody. And you see how the confusion is layers on top of layers, and then them being lost and confused. That's a bad combination. Let's go here. It says 2 Corinthians 4:4, in whom the God of this world, who is the God of this world? The so-called white man. He's the power that's over this world. Earth is given into his hand, pursuant to the book of Job 9:24. Earth is given into the hand of the wicked. They got control over the financial system. They got control over the media. They got control over the school system, higher education. They control all facets of the information that you get. It's all been tampered with. It's all been diluted. It's all been, codified in lies. Have blinded the minds of them which believe not. So when Jake said he don't believe, like I was reading this going back into these comments of this video, the video was already going into something, and then you started confusion on the thread, and there was more confusion there. It was more of these people spewing a different madness, and it's these people like in a state of being drunken, but not with wine. They are drunken in the philosophies of Babylon. It says right here, it says, wishing them believe not. Most Jakes are unbelievers. They believe into like I even you could throw atheism in there, you know. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Hamashiach. And when people say this name Christ, they envision that so-called white guy. That's what I've been harping on lately. But this is the Messiah, Hamashiach, who is the image of Yahweh, should shine unto them. Let's keep going. And I want to go to Isaiah 47:12. One second, Salakia. And this talking about Babylon. This ain't talking about ancient Babylon. It's talking about America. Isaiah 47:12. It says, stand now with thine enchantments. I want you to remember this word enchantments, because this is layers on top of this word. And the multitude of dying sorceries.